Have you ever felt the thrill of exploring the unknown, the excitement of venturing into places where few dare to tread? Imagine descending into the depths of the earth, surrounded by darkness, with only the beam of your flashlight cutting through the black void. Now, imagine that excitement turning into sheer terror as the walls close in around you, water rises, and escape seems impossible. Today, we're diving into the three chilling tales of cave explorations that took a horrifying turn, each presenting their own different nightmare. Viewer discretion is advised. John Jones was a 26-year-old medical student, a devoted family man, and an experienced caver. Growing up in Utah, John had explored caves since he was a child, developing a passion for the thrill of subterranean discovery. On November 24, 2009, during Thanksgiving week, John decided to revisit his love for caving and explore Nutty Putty Cave with his brother Josh and a group of friends. John and his group began their descent into the cave, moving through a series of narrow tunnels and tight squeezes. The cave was known for its tight passages and claustrophobic squeezes, a true test for even the most seasoned cavers. They aimed to reach the birth canal, a notoriously tight and winding passage that required wriggling and contorting to pass through. John, ever the adventurer, took the lead. Crawling on his hands and knees, he led the group deeper into the cave, the walls closing in tighter with each movement. As the group went deeper into the cave, the cold air turned warmer and more humid, the darkness enveloping them as their headlamps flickered and danced along the walls. Spirits were high as they navigated through familiar sections of the cave, laughing and joking, unaware of the nightmare that lay ahead. In his eagerness, John made a fateful decision. Believing he had found the entrance to the birth canal, he entered a narrow passage headfirst, wriggling and squeezing his way through. As he progressed, the tunnel grew narrower, pressing in on him from all sides. John continued to push forward until he realized, too late, that he was stuck. He had misjudged the tunnel size, and now he was trapped, unable to move forward or backward. Panic set in as John tried to free himself, but the tunnel's grip was unyielding. His position was agonizing, head down with his arms pinned at his sides, and his body bent backward in an unnatural angle. The darkness seemed to close in around him, and the reality of his situation became painfully clear. To top things off, he had wriggled into a fissure that went nearly straight down, which made him unable to turn back on his own. The narrow crevice he was trapped in measured 10 by 18 inches. This size is comparable to the opening of a front-loading washing machine, except it wasn't a perfect circle, and he was stuck in the tightest part of the opening. Trapped more than 100 feet below the ground and deep inside the cave, all John could do was wait and pray. Josh, realizing something was wrong, crawled back to check on his brother. The sight of John trapped and helpless sent a wave of fear through him. Desperate to help, Josh tried to pull John free, but the tunnel was too tight. They needed professional help, and fast. Panic set in as John's brother Josh tried to pull him out, but to no avail. They quickly realized they needed professional help and made their way back to the surface to call for help. Rescue teams arrived within an hour and began their efforts to free John. The rescue effort was a race against time, as John's precarious position put immense strain on his body, particularly his heart and lungs. Rescuers worked tirelessly, setting up a complex system of pulleys and ropes to try and free John from his underground prison. The cave's narrow passages and unstable rock formations made the rescue operation incredibly challenging. For hours, they tried to widen the tunnel and pull John out, but each attempt was met with failure. As the hours turned into a full day, John's condition deteriorated. His position, combined with the lack of movement, caused severe strain on his body. He struggled to breathe, and the physical and emotional toll of the ordeal was evident. Rescue teams communicated with John, offering words of encouragement and doing everything in their power to keep him calm. Despite the rescuers' relentless efforts, the situation grew increasingly dire. After 27 hours of desperate attempts to free him, a critical pulley system failed, causing a rock to shift and further pinning John in place. The rescue team was forced to reassess their options, but the reality was becoming clear. John's chances of survival were slipping away. A last attempt was made to free John by desperately drilling away the rock around him, but it was no use. The entire team was exhausted, and John was barely breathing and was still unresponsive, and worst of all, he had gone into cardiac arrest. Tragically, there was nothing anyone could do. A brave paramedic was sent down to take a pulse, confirming what everyone had suspected, and at 11:56 p.m., on the 25th of November 2009, John Edward Jones was pronounced dead. John's family, gathered anxiously at the cave's entrance, were informed of the grim situation. With heavy hearts, the rescue team had to make the devastating decision to cease the operation. John Jones, a beloved husband, father, and brother, succumbed to the physical stress of his entrapment, his body unable to withstand the ordeal any longer. In the wake of the tragedy, Nutty Putty Cave was permanently sealed, John's body entombed within its depths as a somber memorial. The decision to close the cave was a painful one, but it was deemed necessary to prevent further loss of life. The story of John Jones serves as a poignant reminder of the inherent dangers of cave exploration, even for those with experience. In June 2018, the serene mountains of northern Thailand became the center of a global drama that captured hearts and minds around the world, and the world was captivated by the dramatic rescue of 12 boys and their soccer coach from the Tham Luang Cave in Thailand. Tham Luang Neng Non, a vast cave system nestled beneath these mountains, was known for its beauty and mystery. But for 12 young boys and their soccer coach, it would become a harrowing prison, turning an ordinary adventure into an extraordinary tale of survival. What started as a routine outing quickly turned into a life-or-death situation when sudden monsoon rains flooded the cave system, trapping the group deep inside. The Wild Boars soccer team, composed of boys aged between 11 and 16, and their 25-year-old coach, Ekapol Chantawong, were a close-knit group. After a routine practice session on June 23, 2018, they decided to explore the Tham Luang Cave. It was a spontaneous decision, fueled by the spirit of adventure and camaraderie. As they entered the cave, the sky outside was calm. Unknown to them, ominous clouds were gathering, signaling the onset of the monsoon season. The cave, with its winding passages and expansive chambers, lured them deeper into its embrace. They laughed and joked, their voices echoing off the damp, ancient walls, unaware that their journey would soon take a dire turn. Deep within the cave, the boys and their coach were oblivious to the torrential rain that began to pour outside, and what happened next was soon to become a nightmare. The downpour was relentless, and the cave's entrance, along with several passages, quickly flooded. Water surged through the tunnels with a terrifying speed, cutting off their route to the surface and forcing them to retreat further into the cave. In the pitch darkness, illuminated only by their flashlights, the group huddled together on a narrow ledge above the rising water. Days turned into nights as they waited, their hope dwindling with each passing hour. They had no food, and their only water source was the muddy runoff dripping from the cave walls. The cold and dampness gnawed at their spirits, but they clung to each other for warmth and reassurance. When the boys didn't return home, their families grew anxious. By nightfall, the alarm was raised, and local authorities began a search. However, the severity of the situation quickly became apparent, and what started as a local search effort escalated into a massive international rescue mission. The Thai government, along with international cave diving experts, launched an unprecedented rescue mission. The complex cave system, flooded passages, and strong currents presented significant challenges. The rescue operation required meticulous planning, involving more than 10,000 people from various countries, including divers, military personnel, and volunteers. Expert cave divers from around the world descended upon Thailand, bringing with them specialized equipment and a wealth of experience. British divers Rick Stanton and John Volanthen were among the first to arrive. They faced a daunting task, navigating through submerged, narrow passages with strong currents and zero visibility. After 9 terrible days of searching, hope was nearly lost. Then, on July 2nd, a breakthrough occurred. Stanton and Volanthen surfaced in a chamber 4 kilometers from the cave entrance. Their headlamps cut through the darkness, revealing a miraculous sight. All 12 boys in their coach, alive and huddled together on the ledge. The boys were starved, weak, but incredibly, they had survived. Finding the boys was a miracle, but getting them out alive was a huge challenge. The narrow, flooded passages posed extreme dangers, even for the most experienced divers. After extensive deliberation, the rescue team devised a bold and risky plan. Each boy would be sedated to prevent panic, then guided through the cave by 2 divers. The sedation would keep the boys calm during the journey, minimizing the risk of them struggling and complicating the rescue. On July 8th, the first rescue operation began. The divers navigated the treacherous underwater tunnels, carrying the boys one by one. At any moment, a misstep could spell disaster. Each rescue took hours. Over 3 tense days, the world watched as the rescue unfolded. The divers faced numerous obstacles, including equipment malfunctions and the ever-present threat of rising water levels. Despite these challenges, their determination never wavered. The operation's success was a testament to courage and teamwork. By July 10th, all 12 boys and their coach were safely brought to the surface. The final moments of the rescue were a blur of cheers and tears as the last boy emerged from the cave, carried on a stretcher, weak but alive. The Thai cave rescue was hailed as a miraculous success, but it came at a cost. Saman Kunan, a former Thai Navy SEAL, tragically lost his life while delivering oxygen tanks to the boys. His sacrifice underscored the immense dangers and the heroism involved in the rescue. The successful rescue was hailed as a miracle, a story of hope and resilience in the face of overwhelming odds. The boys and their coach received medical treatment and psychological support to help them recover from the ordeal, and the world celebrated their safe return, and the heroes who made it possible were honored for their extraordinary efforts. Deep beneath the rolling hills of North Yorkshire, England, lies Mossdale Caverns, a complex and treacherous cave system known only to the most daring of people. In June 1967, this network of tunnels and passages became the site of one of Britain's most tragic caving disasters in history, as 6 experienced cavers embarked on an exploration that would end in a fatal confrontation with the raw power of nature. John Ogden, a 20-year-old seasoned caver, led a group of 5 other explorers on a journey into the depths of Mossdale Caverns. The team, all familiar with the cave's reputation for danger, was excited and confident. The weather on that fateful day appeared favorable, with no sign of the horrific storm that would soon transform their adventure into a nightmare. The cave was notorious for its narrow passages, steep drops, and the ever-present risk of flooding. Yet, this did little to deter the group as they began their descent. The entrance to the cave was very unsettling, a small opening in the ground leading to a dark, mysterious world below. As they crawled through the entrance, the cool air of the cave enveloped them, and the sounds of the outside world faded away. Navigating the winding tunnels and tight squeezes, the group moved deeper into the cave. They made their way through sections named the Rough Chamber and the Muddy Ducks, each part of the cave presenting its own unique challenges. The walls closed in around them, and the sound of dripping water echoed through the passages. As they ventured further, the group remained in high spirits, their laughter and chatter filling the cave. They carefully navigated through narrow passages and waded through water-filled sections, completely unaware of the storm brewing above. Heavy rain began to fall, but the cave's depth and isolation kept them blissfully ignorant of the impending danger. Outside, The rain intensified, turning into a torrential downpour that swelled the streams feeding into Mossdale Caverns. Water began to rush into the cave system with alarming speed, turning the once manageable passages into deadly traps. The group, still deep within the cave, started to notice the water levels rising around them. Realizing the severity of their situation, panic set in. The water continued to rise, filling the narrow tunnels and cutting off their escape routes. The once adventurous exploration turned into a frantic race against time as they tried to make their way back to the surface. But the nature of the cave and the rapidly rising water made navigation nearly impossible. Trapped in a section known as Rough Chamber, the group faced the horrifying reality that there was no way out. The water continued to rise, the roar of the flood echoing through the cave, drowning out their desperate shouts. They clung to the walls, trying to find any higher ground, but the relentless surge of water left no escape. Above ground, the alarm was raised as the group failed to emerge at the expected time. Rescue teams were quickly mobilized, but the conditions were dire. The relentless rain and rising water levels made it nearly impossible for rescuers to enter the cave. Each passing minute reduced the chances of finding the cavers alive. Despite the odds, rescue teams pressed on, battling the elements and the treacherous conditions within the cave. They fought through the flooded passages, their progress slow and full of danger. The hope of finding the trapped cavers alive began to fade, but the rescuers refused to give up. After several days of grueling effort, the rescue operation transitioned into a recovery mission. The realization that the cavers could not have survived the flooding was a devastating blow to everyone involved. The families of the trapped cavers were informed, their hopes shattered by the grim news. The bodies of all 6 cavers were eventually recovered, their final resting place a stark reminder of the cave's unforgiving nature. The tragedy of Mossdale Caverns left a permanent mark on the caving community, leading to increased safety measures and a greater awareness of the risks involved in such explorations. Mossdale Caverns was then closed to prevent a further loss of life, and the memory of those lost in the deadly flood became a somber testament to the dangers that lurk beneath the surface. The incident serves as a haunting reminder that nature, in its raw and unpredictable power, can turn even the most skilled adventurers into victims of its fury. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you have a story suggestion, feel free to comment down below, and we will see you in the next one.